Make Mother's Day great again. Oh, God. God is so good. God is so good. Waiting for you all to come on in. I'm just getting back from dinner, y'all. I said, before I before I end this day, I was like, let me wish everybody a happy, blessed Mother's Day. I hope you all enjoyed your Mother's Day with your mom today, whatever things you were doing for today. God bless you and all the mothers here on earth and those who are in heaven. And I know mine's is that's where my mother is. She's in heaven watching over me through the heavenly skies, and I think about her each and every single day that I take this journey through life. I wished all the mothers and those I do know played a significant part in my life, even their children who are still here, my friends and their moms that are going on. I wish them all a happy Mother's Day, and the mothers that I worked with in the school, the mothers that I worked with as my co-workers, and my family. Everybody has gotten a piece of my heart on this day for what they do for Christ, which is good. Those mothers that adopted other people's children around with their own children, that is a mother's love that is undeniable. It's undeniable, amazing, amazing. And we do have to make Mother's Day great again. I'm going to change the screen up again because I thought this was just too cute and too funny. Somebody posted this, so I said, let me repost it and share it on my screen. I just thought it was adorable. Make Mother's Day great again. Yes, because there are so many mothers that are here that had children that don't even acknowledge them. And that's sad. That is really sad that some children have really made their mother's heart ache. We're going to go into the book of Proverbs. We are going to go into the book of Proverbs today because it is Mother's Day and wisdom. Wisdom comes from mom, of course. Of course. Wisdom comes from mom. And we're going to go into Proverbs 31, okay? Because this is basically with all mothers. Oops, sorry, I forgot. This right here is not. I need to take a swallow. We're going to go into the book of Proverbs 31. So bear with me, y'all. That Gotta go to my Bible here on my tablet. Just give me a minute. This thing moves kind of slow. We're going to go into the virtuous woman. And then we also going to read Psalms 27. And here, what it says. First, let's go into our Father's Prayer. I didn't say the Father's Prayer before I start this conversation. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Lord, give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us those who trespass against us. Lord, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thou you are the kingdom, the power, and all the glory, forever and ever. Amen. So I wanted to start off with Proverbs 31 to all of you out there who are mothers and those of you who mothers have gone on to glory. Still wishing you a happy Mother's Day as well. For the work that your mother has done while she was here with you on earth and the love she poured into you and all the things she has taught you throughout the years. Even your grandmother, your aunties, um, somebody played a significant role in your life that has been a mother's love. So don't think you are alone. And don't think she left you. um, and without being there in your heart. The things she taught you. And I lost my mother in 2006. But I still carry her love in my heart and all the wonderful things my mom poured into me. So you're not alone. Just always remember there's a place here for mother's love. And we're going to go into Proverbs 31. And it says, the saying of King Lemuel, an inspired utterance his mothers taught him. Listen, my son. Listen, son of my womb. Listen, my son, the answer to my prayers. Do not spend your strength on women, your vigor on those who ruin kings. It is not for kings, Lemuel. It is not for kings to drink wine, not for rulers to crave beer, lest they drink and forget what has been decreed, and deprive all the oppressed of their rights. Let beer be for those who are perishing, wine for those who are in anguish. Let them drink and forget their poverty, and remember their misery no more. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. For the rights of all who are destitute, speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and needy. A wife of noble character who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She select wool and flax and work with eager hands. She is like the merchant ships, bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it is still night. She provides food for her family and portions for her female servants. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her task. She sees that her trading is profitable and her lamp does not go out at night. In her hand she holds the distaff and grasps the spindle with her fingers. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her hand to the needy. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. She makes coverings for her bed. She is clothed in fine linen and purple. Her husband is respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies the merchants with sashes. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instructions is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting. But a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Honor her to all that her hands have done, and let her works bring her praises at the city gate. Amen. You know, it's nothing like talking about a mother, because through her works, you see it in her children. Courtney makeups. Yeah, we're going to talk about that too, Courtney. But the thing is that let's pray for them. This is why we celebrate this day, so we can help those along the way. We're not going to tear them down. We're not going to call them they not blase blase, because this is what we are to do here on earth as it is in heaven. That's why God put us here, so we can help those mothers. You know, maybe because of the things, the leadership we had over the years have taught them to be disrespectful, mothers that are neglectful, neglect their children, mothers who don't do what they supposed to do as mothers, because look at the examples today. Look at the things that people have to look at today, and it is so hard. And all I can do is really pray for these mothers. There are some that are really out here trying, but they don't have the right people to lead them to be better mothers, to become better mothers. We just can't tear them down. We have to pray for them. We have to also encourage them. Even give them the crumbs from the master's table. That was the word preached today in church today, coming from the book of Matthew's. Um, do I have my notes here with me? We came from the book of Matthew's, and we talked about the mothers that go through so much. We talk about the woman whose daughter was going through, and Jesus and the mother came to Jesus. Yeah, being held accountable. They are being held accountable, Courtney. They are being held accountable. Some of them made the bad, wrong choices with the wrong men in their life, and they didn't have the support system like some of us who has been blessed to have the support system. You see, I know my mother was blessed, by her mother, and my mother was a young mother, and so was her mother. My mother was going through, okay, but thank God that my mother mother had a twin sister who helped a lot with my mother, who took on most of her sister's work with my mother. Because my aunt, which was my mother's twin sister, helped raise us in New York. She was the grandmother to us in New York while my grandmother was in South Carolina. And she had to take on the work of taking care of my mother and helping my mother with her children. And my mother had 7 girls and 2 boys. And believe me, she did not have the best marriage, okay? And the strongest husband. My father, yeah, he was around and he was there, but mom had to do mostly the bulk of the work, and sometimes mom had to do it alone, and then not really alone, but she had her family support, and most of my mother's family was in the South, and the only people that my mother had up in North was her aunt, her great aunt, and which was also a part to help my mother as well. She was the one who pierced all our ears. That was my mother's aunt. And, she was my mother's mother's sister. Okay, so she was my mother's great aunt. And she also helped along with my mother. And so did my mother's sister, who also came up from the South and helped my mother. And my mother was the oldest of all her siblings, and her mother started really young having children. So there's a generation there, and at that time, women were very young being mothers, so they had a lot of support from the elders from the family that helped them raise their children. Like sometimes in the South back in the days, when a young girl got pregnant and had a child out of wedlock, most of the time that child was left to be raised by the grandparents until the mother was able to, find herself a new family, a new husband, and a new family. If you look through the history of Black America, a lot of children were raised by their grandparents because that's just the way it was. And some of these grandparents were raised by their grandparents. You know what I'm saying? It was never like they were raised by their biological mothers. But see, women in those days, it didn't have the exposure that we have today. Today is just it's a lot more harder for women to get to understand how to really be a mother. Look at what goes on in the pulpits in the churches today. Look at some of how these grand elders are acting. And I showed you that. I'm going to change this photo. Okay, I'm going to put me and my mother up there. I just wanted to do this photo because I thought it was just too cute and too funny. But anyway, my grandmother and my mother were raising kids at the same time. So it wasn't an easy life, but my mother always stayed on us with all her daughters anyway. She stayed on her daughters and her sons too. Ain't nobody got by. Ain't nobody got by. Let me see. Okay, I'm looking for mommy's picture here. Okay. Did nobody get by? Okay. We all had our cross to bear, and it wasn't easy. But through the grace of God and through the love of God, being taught in our homes and being taught to us even from the help we got from our church family. I grew up in a family church, so it was always somebody there to help out. It was different. Today it's not as people are not the same today. Something is people got away from. The elders don't check these pastors the way they should in the church. And some of them out here still want to be young and want to party and still want to hang out and get a boyfriend and run with younger boyfriends, and they just not setting good examples around their children. They're just not. They just don't know how to be mothers anymore, and the domestic violence is out of control. You got to look at the leadership that we had in the last couple of decades. Look at the leadership that we had. Liberals raising our children, liberals teaching our children in school. Look at what they do to the young people in the schools now. I remember it was a time and everything that you used to have to vote for your class leaders. You used to vote for your school leaders in the school. Like you had somebody that was competing in debates and everything, what they want to get done for the school and everything. And they will pick somebody that was a nerd or somebody that just really was on serious about their future and their education and wanted to go into politics or whatever. And we would all vote on who that child would be. It'd go to the debates in the auditorium. They used to set up the debates for who's going to be class leader. Okay? Who's going to be the school leader? Who remember those days? I mean, I don't know how old everybody is here in my chat, but if you remember those days that you used to have all kind of things going on, activities going on in the school, like who would vote to be the school leader of the classrooms. They will tell the teachers and everything about what they want for better lunch in the cafeterias, you know, more, programs for the school or school dances. They would want to give school dances, who would campaign for that. It was all kind of things going on in school that kept the children involved in their education. And their education couldn't be sort of kind of like interrupted. Kids were really serious about their future because they had been inspired, they were motivated, they were taught how to, be leaders. They were taught how to use communication skills. We were taught all of that stuff. We was taught even home economics in school. I don't know if they still teach it in school, but since I've been out of school, I worked in schools, and I even worked in middle schools. I didn't see no home economics like kids learning cooking class, sewing, shop. you know, they even had, well, they got driver's ed still. They ain't going nowhere because everybody want to get a car once they get in school, and some want to drive themselves to school once they become seniors, juniors and seniors. They want to, you know, drive to school or whatever. But I remember coming out, it was all kind of things preparing us for the future and ready for the world and sharpening our skills in math and in writing. They don't even write in cursor anymore. When did that happen? They don't even write in cursor anymore. Everything is written in print. Or now just texting, and now everybody on the computers and stuff. We had a typing class, and we were given typing tests and everything. We had to follow that some kind of board, and then they used to show us how to put our hands on the keyboard, stenography. We were taught shorthand in school. They don't even teach that no more. Today they do acronyms. Okay, that's what they call shorthand now, just writing in acronyms and stuff. But when we were coming up, everything was done like manual work. We had to learn. We had to be critical thinkers. We were just taught those skills. Today they not taught that. Everything they influenced by is on social media, reality shows, just things that just synthesize them to act crazy. Look how they like now they dragged out on the street to protest. We didn't do that. There was no such thing of doing that when we were coming up. This time of the year, guess what we were planning for? This is May. It's prom time, okay? People were voting for who's going to be the king and queen for the prom. Basketball, who's going to win the school championship in the basketball. This gymnasium used to be packed around this time of the year, around spring and everything, during the season for the basketball tournaments. If the game going to be a home game, they had scrimmage. We had all of that. Some people were just going to around spring break, around April sometime. People were competing to be on the baseball team, on the softball team. Excuse me, tryouts. There used to be tryouts for softball at this time of the year. Everybody getting ready for the prom. who's going to take them to the prom, and that date they was going to get. That's the way we were taught coming up. Today, you look at the prom today. You can't tell the women from the males, the females from the males. Everybody trying to outdo each other with these extravagant, overdone, how they just do all they displays and everything. We didn't do that. It was, hey, the guy brought the corsage, you had your dress. Sometimes the dress was even made. Your gowns were made. It wasn't no going to the store and buying one in the store and the best kind of shoes. You had a pair of shoes that could go with the gown. That was it. And most of the time, your dress was made. Okay? My prom dress was made. Okay? My prom dress was made, and the guy will come and pick you up with his mother or his father. Well, in my time, we didn't have no vehicles. It was parents that would come pick you up and drop you off at the prom. You had those parents that was in the committee that decorated that gymnasium because it wasn't at no ballroom. It was right there at the school in the gymnasium. That's where the prom was at your school. They didn't have the prom like these kids got today in some special catering hall or something like that. We didn't have that. That prom was right there in that gymnasium in the school. Okay? It's just overdone today. It's just overdone. It's just got too ghetto, too over the top. The half of the kids don't even come out. They don't have no skills, no training skills. Well, some may took their education. It depends on the home life anyway, but the majority of the home life today is just so broken and so dysfunctional. I don't know what's going on with these young people. And I had a seventh grader. I'm sorry, an eighth grader when I was working at a middle school, when I was working there as a hallway monitor para, eighth grade, and already had two kids. Mm-hmm. And that home life was jacked up, right? For a young girl in eighth grade, how old are you in eighth grade? 13, 14 years old on your second child? And in my time, you weren't allowed to stay in the class in the school if you had a child. They sent you to that maternity school or alternative school. You didn't stay in school with regular other kids because they didn't want that to be an influence on other young girls in the school. So they didn't keep pregnant girls in the school. When I went to school, you weren't allowed to stay pregnant and walk around with your belly swollen and influencing other young girls in school. Especially when you were on baby number 2. That wasn't allowed when I was coming up. Okay, I ain't never seen no craziness like that. And I saw that right here when I was working in the school. And I saw this young girl, she was on her second child in middle school. I could imagine what was going on in her home life. But see, here, the way they've been teaching us and the stuff they taught after these liberals been our leaders in the last couple of decades, it's just gotten worse and worse. Look, these kids are killing their parents today. Young man just killed his own mother. His mother told him it was time to go. And guess what he did? Killed her. Okay? Look at the man that just took out all his kids. He took out 8 kids. Well, that's mental illness. That's just, it's just crazy. So that's when President Trump make Mother's Day great again. These mothers got to be trained. Parents got to get back on in their home life. Women got to start picking better relationships. No more toxic relationship with this dude. He's been in some kind of trouble with the Lord. He just keeps going back and forth with that. Or he's out there on them streets, or he doing whatever he doing. That wouldn't make a good future for you and your family, for a family life. You don't see it while you in it, but when you get away from it and you finally find yourself away, and I know it's not easy, but to get prayed out of it, that's why we got to get a hold of them when they're in the church. We got to have mothers in the church to work with these young people. When you don't see them in Sunday school, you don't see them showing up. That's why you assign class leaders in Sunday school, or you assign class leaders when you join. Well, that's how it was in the AME church. I don't know the Baptist. I don't know how any other denomination do it. But I know in the AME church, they assign you the class leaders. And when you don't show up to Bible study, you don't show up to Sunday school, and you don't show up to worship service on a Sunday, somebody will be calling, okay, to check to see if everything is okay with you in your life and what they can do to assist you. Other than that, especially when they don't see the children, when you join a community church, they used to have people that used to do that, but I don't know if they still do that. They look for the people to come to them instead of them going out there for the people. That's what it's like today. So we got to pray these young mothers through. We got to not only pray for the young mothers, we got to pray for some of these elders. Because some of them seem to have lost their way and don't seem to want to do what's right. And they still want to be out there partying and hanging out and cussing and drinking and hanging in bars and boogieing and doing things they shouldn't be doing at their age, where they had enough experience out there in the world now to know better. You see me? I'm not out there. I'm 60 years old. All that stuff is away with me. I am done with it. Okay? I'm gonna have my husband on number 2. Okay? I don't have nothing else out there to be looking for. Okay? It's all about Jesus now. It's all about doing the work for the Lord now. It ain't about all of that stuff out there in the world no more for me, because ain't nothing out there but trouble. But to help somebody, only to just give somebody a little help or whatever, I can do that. Other than that, all that partying, only time you're going to see me going to celebrate something if I'm going to a wedding or I'm going to a special gala that is given for some kind of award ceremony. I will be at something like that, or a family celebration of something. But I don't do baby showers with single parents. I don't do it. I'll tell you in a minute. I will not be attending your baby shower. I won't be sending nothing to celebrate that. I don't encourage it. I won't be taking no part. Now, when back in the days when I ain't know no better, yeah, I was all in. But now what the Lord has brought my mind to, I don't encourage that life anymore. I just don't encourage it because I know what it's going to lead to. You don't encourage a lifestyle that you know a young girl having a baby. I don't lost friends in the whole nine because I wouldn't go to their children baby showers, and they ain't got no husband, and you letting them lay up in your house and have a baby, and what kind of life are you leading your children? You encouraging them to do, and then you want, I just, matter of fact, I ain't even say nothing. I just didn't show up to the baby showers. I didn't even get into all of that. I didn't get into all of that preaching and teaching stuff. I just let it go down the way it's going down. Okay? I just kept my mouth shut. But they just probably felt some kind of way, and so they just stopped talking to me. But that's okay. And the same thing, I don't do baby showers until if I know they're married. And it's gotten so bad out of control. I just don't celebrate that. Like, people were upset about this pastor about a while ago who was upset. The young girl came into church and had to get up in front of the church and apologize for her, you know, getting in trouble. And she was some kind of leader in the church, and the pastor was very disappointed with her. So he said, you got to get up. And we ain't having no baby shower for that baby either. I don't know if everybody saw that video. It went viral. And a lot of people had a lot to say about it, but I understood where the pastor was coming from. When you come up in the church, you understand those things. People from the world and that was raised in the way of the world, they don't understand that. Okay? So they're going to try to find a way to think that he was doing something that was wrong. And he wasn't, because that's her pastor and the family's church. So they are familiar with her in the family for him to do that, to correct her behavior so it won't happen again. It won't be no baby shower. Okay? They ain't gonna go down with that. Now, a christening, that will probably go down. But a baby shower, no. No, it ain't gonna happen. She was a young girl. She couldn't have been no more than 15, maybe a little older than that, maybe no more than 15, 16. But she was also supposed to have been a leader in the youth leadership there, and they just wasn't going to celebrate that life in the church, because in the church you have to separate your mind and your lifestyle from the way people do in the world, and you're supposed to set an example for those in the world. You're supposed to be a little different. You know, we're different people. When you raised in the church, you can't do the same things the way the world do things, because you're supposed to set that example. You got to set leadership example to the world. You have to be the salt to the earth. You're supposed to be the light that shine, to give them that beak of light. Give them something different. So that's the way it is in the church, and a lot of people can't do that. They rather love the world more than they love coming to church and getting the correction that they need, or getting the structure that they need. They rather stay out there smoking, drinking, cussing, fighting, and gossiping, or just all in kind of confusion and chaos. That's the way some people rather stay out there doing that. They don't want to come into church and get structure, or they want to go to a church where they just going to be getting whatever they want there. You know, that's not going to help them spiritually grow. And if you see how the world has become lately in the morals of this country, now you see the gang violence, the killing, the mothers killing the children killing the parents. You see all of that taking place now because the church is out of order. The leadership in the church is out of order, so they become just like the world, and they compromise with the world, and they bring the worldly things into the church. So now people don't know which way to go. They leading the people astray. So God got to make things happen, shake things up. Like, people now mad with President Trump. President Trump, I think, is doing a wonderful job. I mean, the way he was when he was in his young days and out in the world and doing his thing, yeah, okay, he did that, okay, whatever. But now, God got him doing what is right in leadership. Not only talk the talk, but he has to set an example for this nation, for this country. That's why God chose him. God didn't choose perfect people to lead a nation. It was always somebody who came from some flaws or some messed up, crazy background before. Until they wrestled and they had to get it right with God. So I don't see anything he's doing out of order. As a president of the United States, he's doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing as the president for the United States. We can't just let things just keep getting over and getting by here in the United States the way it has been doing for the last 2 or so decades in America. For instance, President Obama, nobody checked him on his morals. Nobody checked him. They still haven't really known if President Trump, not Trump, I'm sorry, God forgive me. Obama was born here in the U.S. or in Kenya. He was born in Kenya because his mother was American. His mother was a young liberal mother. I think she was Hawaiian and white or something like that. And she had Obama in Kenya when Obama was out there. His mother was out there in Kenya with Obama's father. She was a citizen of the U.S. He wasn't. Obama was raised in Indonesia, Jakarta. Okay? He was more internationally influenced. That's why his mindset is so liberal. More liberal than it is American. That's why it was always him trying to fight more harder for immigrants and telling people that we all came from being immigrants. And then tell this weak story about his life, but he ain't tell you the whole deal. He was not influenced in the American values and the American cultures in America. He came to America when it was already in him to be more international. More of his Kenyan upbringing or his Kenyan ways. I don't know if he speak any of his tribal languages from his father. But in that culture, The name is right there telling you Barack Hussein Obama. That's not even an American name. I could see if somebody said his name is actually Barry, but it was changed to Obama to identify with his Kenyan, background, which I believe his father was Muslim, not even Christian. Why you think all the Muslims started coming up in America, rooting up in America, which they don't even share the same kind of religion. We don't share the same, you know, belief system. And that's another problem. They ain't only just becoming a problem in the United States, they becoming a problem all over the world. Okay? Even the people in Japan is tired of them and want them out. And this is not just only happening in America. This immigration thing has gotten too far out of control. Not only in America, even in South Africa. Okay? This is South Africa. They want the Africans in South Africa to leave. In South Africa, they more Christian than they are Muslim or any other thing. They're more Christian. They want them out of Africa. They want them Nigerians out. They want them people from Ghana out. Africans don't even want Africans in their country. Because what's going on is that these people are bringing their ways with them that come from their foreign countries, and they trying to change other people's beliefs and the traditions and the values and people have every right to protect their borders. They don't come to America because they trying to be American. They come to America to try to take over. They want us to accept them to be laying out on the street, praying out on the street, and doing those things. That's not American. That's not American. Even the Muslims that actually Islam, the Nation of Islam, they don't even do that. They never done that. I ain't never see them do it. Okay? I never, and I've been American all my life, okay? And I grew up in New York. And most Muslims that are from the Nation of Islam, they wore the bow ties. You ain't never see them walk around with all that stuff on or whatever like that. Only time you saw them dressed like that is when they went to the mosque. And they went to the mosque mostly on Sunday. Then on top of that, Muslim children didn't even go to school with Christian children. They went to their own schools. When I was coming up, those Muslim kids all went to their own schools at the mosque or wherever they was being taught at. They didn't even go to school with us. Most of the Christian children, when I was coming up, Christian and Muslim children did not go to the same schools. They didn't. And when I was in Brooklyn, they went to their own schools. Even the Jewish children. You rarely seen any Jewish child. We had Jewish teachers, educators, but I didn't have no Jewish kids in my classroom when I was coming up. Most of the kids that were growing up in my classroom when we were coming up were mostly either they were Irish or they were Italian or they were Latino, like Puerto Rican, maybe Cuban. But I didn't have no Jewish kids in my classroom, and I didn't have no Muslim children in my classroom either. And a few maybe kids that came from Vietnam, Vietnamese children, or Filipino, or whatever. But really no being Filipino, but it was mostly kids that was from Vietnam and kids, very few Chinese children or whatever. But most of the time when I went to school coming up, my classroom was majority either you were black, white, or Latino. We didn't have, excuse me, we didn't have that many. I didn't even have no Indian kids in my classroom. I had no Indian kids, no kids from Pakistan, India, Indonesia, Jakarta. None of that stuff was in my classroom growing up. I didn't start seeing Indian and getting familiar with people from these countries until my adult years. When I start getting in the world of the work world. And when I started going to then the little Chinese restaurant will open up. But to be honest, we had Chinese kids, okay? Growing up, they were very rare, okay? Very rare we saw kids that was from China. But we used, because we used to always be, watching them Bruce Lee movies, so that kind of made us more familiar with them and everything. But we didn't have no Japanese, no Korean, no. We didn't have that. I mean, we didn't have, and all of a sudden now all these people from where they came from. You know what I'm saying? Now we getting all these flooded in with these. They don't even worship. They don't share the same values with us. They don't share the same religion with us. So why are they here? You know what I'm saying? And it's only just becoming a problem. It's not doing anything that they come into share the same things in friendship and fellowship with us. They only come in here because they just want to come here just to be here and then want us to change from who we are. So me personally, I think President Trump is doing an amazing job. It's going to take 12 years back, but we got to get it done right. It's just too much. Because when you come and live in another country, you come so you could be a part of that country and you could be able to be a part of the values there or whatever they do there. You don't come. Exactly. Because they open up, they're not supposed to be coming here getting welfare and a free handout or nothing like that. The only time those people brought these people here was when they was here on TPS. TPS gave them the opportunity to come here because they countries, it was unrest, war, and people were being attacked and all that. So America opened up, or they came here to work. And they only was here for a certain amount of time on a visa, on a work visa. And after that time of period or whatever, they had to go back to wherever they came from. Because if we were like short in doctors, or maybe somebody was short in somebody as a nurse, we needed a nurse, somebody that was trained in that capacity of work. Yeah, we used to open up to bring them here so they can work for a certain period of time, but then they go back to their own country. They're not supposed to stay forever. And you know what happened? That's when they came with amnesty. And that's how they started coming in. Amnesty allowed them. So Trump is like, look, is off the table. Temporary PTPS for these people is protected status, whatever they have, is done. Because some of these people were supposed to leave and they never left. You could have been here 20 years and your visa was up 20 years ago. And you overstayed in your visa. That's what's problem that's coming into the United States. That's how Elon, Omar, and all of them people sitting up there in Congress and everything. Some of them people ain't supposed to still be in the United States. But Obama gave them amnesty. Either Obama did it, and somebody said the Clintons did it, but I don't know. But Obama served 2 terms, so it more looks like it's on him. Because they started really coming in. They supposed to only come here to work for a certain amount of time. They could be here for 10 years. They could visas for the job period of time they supposed to be. Could be for 10 years, 15 years, something like that. Might be even 20. They could get a visa, but they have to keep checking on their status. When they come on a school visa, their school visa is supposed to be 5 years. They supposed to only have like 5 years if they whatever they studying, and they come here and they go to school. They supposed to only be here for that point in time to go to school. But you know what they do? They loop their way in to get married to an American citizen, so then they can file for their citizenship. That's what they do. Nigerians don't want to go back in their own country and deal with their own problems there, but they want to stay in America and want to fight for civil rights and human rights. No, get your ass up on out of here. Go back to your country and fight for your rights over there. That's what they do. They only supposed to come here for a certain amount of time for their visas. Okay? And if they become a citizen within that time they file for citizenship, or somebody filed for them, somebody come here to work and they file for their citizenship and they didn't get they, permanent residency, but there is a certain thing that they must do. Okay? Once they become a permanent resident, one thing they're going to look at, are you a Christian? Hello? What kind of, have you ever been in trouble with any kind of law? You have to go through, it's a process. What do you know about American history? They're going to teach you about America. You're going to have to learn some things on American history and everything before you can be granted citizenship here in the United States of America. So President Trump administration is cracking down on it, and they have to redistrict all of these states, and especially trying to get New York back, because New York, that's where they come. Okay? All these sanctuary places they come in, ain't no such thing as sanctuary. Take your behind back to your country and fix your problems over there. Stay and fight and get your things done that you need to get done over there. No more free ride in America. But see, the reason President Trump having such a hard time, because it's all those doggone Democrats and some rhinos, because see, it's cheaper to keep them here to work for them than to take them back to their country to work for them. Okay? That's what it is. Give us Americans back our jobs. Okay, back in Detroit with our own Detroit mechanical, the ones who know how to work on cars, the Motor City. People are trained in that capacity. There's a whole lot of mechanics out of work. There's a whole lot of people that can manufacture cars and everything else out of work. They know about cars that's out of work because they outsource their jobs overseas. They need to bring back the American people jobs back here in the United States of America, even our banking jobs. Now I'm tired of calling and talking to somebody in some foreign country. I want to see a face, okay? I want to see a face, and I want to speak to somebody that knows how to speak English. Point blank period, because they want these jobs to stay over there so that they can get cheaper labor. And what the hell is Chinese people doing with hair stores when that's mostly black people who buy the products for black hair? The relaxers and all that. No, Chinese people don't relax their hair. Chinese people don't put no doggone extensions in their hair. Or no bundles. Or get their hair done with any kind of, what they call those things, the weave thing. Because they make the wigs and everything. So we can make our own damn wigs. Since we want to add more hair onto our head, we could do all that ourselves. What the hell they doing selling Chinese hair? Because you know why? Because they labor to work over there, so they come over here to work so that it could do done cheaper over here than them to have to. You know what I'm saying? That's why they trying to stop them illegals from getting kicked out of the United States. That's what the Democrats are doing. Republicans are like, we're done. Okay? So all of those people that's mad about this redistricting, the votes being redistricted, states being redistricted, I'm not gerrymandering, because that's what the Democrats been doing. They've been getting away with it for a very long time, so their time is up, and they mad as fire. Now this fake Malcolm Afro Daishiki brother out there, he out there running for some kind of political. I wouldn't vote for him. Who would want somebody like that to represent? You see how he talked to that state trooper? All up in his face, and then cussed him out and everything and said the things he said. Now, not saying that white boys don't do it and don't be held accountable. But I'm just saying, do you really want to go back to that? As a black man and a black woman, do you really want to take that risk of putting yourself in that position of talking to a state trooper, somebody that is probably got guns, this, that, the other, and you ain't got that many guns to take down all of them state troopers, so what are you doing? You disrespected, and all them brothers are sitting up in jail, and that's how you carrying on? Oh, hell to the no. I wouldn't be wanting him as my representative. Hell to the no. I wouldn't be voting for somebody like that. Because you know what that's going to lead up to. If you do, what you asking for. So you better be very careful about who you choose to be your leaders. And his character cannot speak for me. Sorry. I don't want to see no brothers harmed. If they can't get to him, they could probably get to some other brother. And that's what I don't want done. Okay? I want a nice representative, somebody who knows how to control their emotions, and they're going to be emotionally out of control like that. No, siree. We ain't trying to go back to that. Never. I ain't trying to go through what my ancestors already went through. So you got to be careful who you choose to be speaking for you. Like it's going to do you any good, and it's going to take you from having a chain around your neck or probably in prison or dead, hung on a tree somewhere. But anyway, y'all, I got to get up on out of here. I got some things to do. I just wanted to give you a Mother's Day edition. Wishing you all a happy and blessed Mother's Day with your moms here on earth. And just to lift your heart up for those of you who are missing your mothers, are in heaven. Okay, watching down on you. Mother's love is always here in your heart. And anytime you feel a little sad or you feel like, your mother's not there with you, she's there. Just go to the Word of God, go to Psalms 27. When you, excuse me, when your mother and father forsake you, I will take you in. Because God is now here watching you from the heavens with your parents to make sure you okay. So with that being said, God bless you. I love you. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening. So please hit the like button as you enter in or as you going out. And for those of you who are the first time here with the Casey McDaniel Speak channel, welcome to my channel. I hope you enjoyed what you heard here in this edition. And hopefully you'll come back again and join me again. Like, share, subscribe, and hit that bell so when I do come on, you'll get the notification. So don't forget to hit the like button. Love you guys. Peace.